Horn and Helmet ASMR. Thank you for watching.
Or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all...
Et puis après, alors, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé?
Ils avaient vu des...
Okay, hey, if you're listening to this right now, then I was able to get it recorded without getting caught. I'm sorry I have to be quiet, but I really don't want anyone overhearing this, and I don't have much privacy right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to find a quieter place to record next time, but this will be enough to get the point across. Plus, the train station makes it a lot easier to blend into the crowd. My name is...
well away from the edge of platform 2.
Actually, you know what?
The train is not
I
scheduled to stop
probably
at this
shouldn't
station.
tell you that. Let's just say I was in the news a couple of weeks ago, so now I'm having to be a lot more careful than I was. I'll upload this from somewhere else, probably a gas station or something. Maybe a burger place. They've always got pretty good Wi-Fi. And if you're trying to find me, don't waste your time. Let's start at the beginning, though. Or at least the part where the story gets interesting. There would be a lot of boring stuff of when I was a baby if I started at the beginning. But a couple of months ago, I heard some of my classmates talking about the deep web. A lot of it was the same stuff TV was talking about, though, like drugs and stuff. But then one of them said something about a PDF of spells. It was a couple weeks after an agency rep came to our school. We had a whole assembly about how magic can be useful, but only by people who are trained. And it can also be dangerous, especially by people that are untrained. And I guess that's true. I mean, there's been a bunch of stories on the news about people getting a hold of magic artifacts and kinda going nuts with them and robbing banks and stuff. But it can't all be bad, can it? Maybe it was the tools that they were using that were the problem, and not the magic itself. 'Cause magic was around before, right? At least that's what I thought going into this. Anyway, I went home and set up a VPN to get onto the deep web and find this book. At first, I thought it was a joke. It's not like any of that stuff is regulated, and it looked too edgy to be true. The PDF was black, with a red font, and bats and moons all in the margins. Real dumb looking, like the diary of some goth in a text document. I scrolled through it a bit, and once I actually started reading it, it was a lot different than what I was expecting. I mean, when you read about spellbooks, it's always a lot of flowery prose and pretense, right? This one was a lot more reasonable, like it was written in the last 10 years or something. I didn't understand a lot of it, but some of the stuff at the front seemed pretty self-explanatory. It was like the worst possible hybrid of math and science. A lot of numbers and formulas, like calculus, but then a ton of diagrams that went with everything, like physics. I kinda set that aside and read the first couple of chapters to see what all was in there. When people tell you about magic, especially right now when it's kind of everywhere, They always talk about how mystical and mysterious it is, right? How the spirits take hold of you and move through you to achieve your ends. Well, this wasn't anything like that. Not by a long shot. It was just as exhilarating, though. I can definitely agree with that. I decided that the first spell I should try was something harmless. Something that couldn't backfire no matter what. Some of the spells further into the book sounded way too dangerous to start with, but surely making a light couldn't go wrong. So that's what I chose. A light spell. Just a little mote of light. Enough to prove that it was possible to use magic without having to stumble across some ancient relic and risk it turning you into a criminal. The file had a list of ingredients that I needed, and a symbol. Apparently it doesn't work to just have the ingredients. You need to know what their purpose is within the reaction. The whole thing is way too close to chemistry, and I never did well in that in high school. But if I ever go back to take the graduation tests, I think that might just be my best subject now. So for light, the book said that I needed Eye of Newt and a flower that was, quote, golden as the sun. 2 ingredients. But where was I gonna find a newt eye? It's not like I could just drive down to the bodega and buy a jar of them. But then I remembered what my English teacher had said during Shakespeare, in Macbeth specifically. All that old dumb wizard stuff was all coded language to keep people from getting formulas. Like, right, like Quicksilver. When you say Quicksilver, it sounds all magic and mysterious, but it was just mercury. The same stuff that we have in thermometers now. It's wild, right? So, it turns out, Eye of Newt is just mustard seed. Wild. And I didn't have any golden flowers, but the lawn was kinda crappy, so there were dandelions everywhere. I snuck out and grabbed a few, and then went up to my room. At this point, I was feeling kinda dumb. I was going off to college. Here I was with a bottle of yellow mustard and a handful of dandelions from the yard, sitting at my desk in the middle of the night, trying to cast a spell I got from a file online. I almost didn't do it. There was a real long moment where I looked down at the sticky note on my desk, in between the pile of weeds and the bottle of mustard, like I was making the world's worst snack. And I felt like an idiot. But I'd come that far. And if nothing happened, then nobody had to know I was dumb enough to try it. So I drew the circle like the book showed, put the dandelion head in the middle, and squirted mustard over it. I twisted it up into a little ball, and I squeezed it, and then said the words. Teni svet, osveti temnotu pokrog menia. And as soon as I said the last, I really squeezed on the paper, and then nothing happened. I was still alone, sitting in a dark room, and now I had mustard all over my hand. I mean, I'm 17. I'm old enough to know better. So I dumped it all in the trash can and grabbed the bottle of mustard with my dirty hand and as soon as I touched it, the bottle just lit up like a flashlight. When I tell you that I yelped, that's really the only word for it. The dog started barking, and I heard my dad get up, so I dove for the bed, mustard and all. I am so lucky that he thought the sound came from outside and didn't come to check, because I wasn't really able to fully cover the light, and I didn't have an explanation as to why our hot dog toppings were suddenly glowing.
May we have your attention, please? Please do not
Once he
leave
settled
cases
back
or
down,
parcels
I cracked my door
anywhere on
and
the
listened
station.
for snoring.
Any unattended articles
The
are
mustard
likely
was
to be
still
removed
glowing,
without warning.
and I just stared at it.
Customer
As soon as I thought about turning it
Please
off,
do not leave
it went
cases or
out.
parcels unattended
It
anywhere on
seems
the
like you
station.
don't need a magic
Any
word or
unattended
phrase for that.
articles are likely to be
You
removed
just have to
without
think
warning.
about it. Which is good, because I can't remember half the words off the top of my head. I tried it a few more times, and each time the first thing I touched started to glow, which was irritating to me. I was hoping for, like, a little ball of light or something that floats in the air and looks all magical. Again, that seems a lot more magical than grabbing an empty energy drink can and having that glow instead. I can't really complain, because at least it worked. But I wish there was more fanfare, you know? So, I've made these little packets now when I need a light. I just grab a rock and... oh, crap. Are they from the agency? Oh, they are. They're flashing their badge and making a real big deal of it. Alright, I guess I'm signing off now. If I get arrested, you'll see me on the news. Okay, how do I turn this off? Stupid record.